Disclaimer: the following program features language not suitable for all audiences, and the expressed opinions found within this program are a reflection of those who feature on the PopCulture Effect podcast. Welcome to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Rockin Rob, and on this show, I bring my closest friends together to talk about all the news happening in our pop culture world around us.
How's it going, guys? It is Menace here, and...
Dude, this is the YouTube. This is the YouTube channel.
This
right
is
now.
the YouTube. How's it going, guys? And welcome to the Pop Culture Effect. I'm Menace, and I'm joined here today by Trin.
Gemini.
Hello.
And Subset.
Heyo. I'm letting you know
And
now. You called Fire Dave.
and then
It's fine. I don't care. I got distracted for a split second. Some external
All right,
forces
Edward.
distracted me.
Today we got a little bit of old news being recapped, a little bit of new news, and some quality checks coming in of some of the stuff that came out past few days. I'm gonna get us right rolling in with of course bringing back old habits, starting with the drama. We finally got some confirmation. For those that don't know, Bungie laid off about 34% of its people about 2-3 months ago, and there's been a bunch of rumors going around, a bunch of other stuff, and one of the foremost gaming journalists, Jason Schreier, went onto a podcast called, oh god, what was it? I cannot remember the name of the podcast.
It was called the F You My Employees Are Shit podcast.
No. He doesn't work for Bungie, or it wasn't like a Bungie podcast, but it was like, he was on there since he's a very big gaming industry journalist. He's notorious for insider scoops. He's authored 2 best-selling books about the gaming industry and how devs are treated and how the inner workings of stuff.
I had no idea who this dude was.
Yeah, Jason Schreier. He's a really cool dude. And so I wanted to kind of go over his stuff, and he's kind of got this insider look on Bungie and how things have been going and what kind of led up to everything that's been going on. So going into it, the first question that was asked on the podcast is just how did Bungie get here? So during the pandemic time, there was massive growth. Almost every game in the industry was doing well, and interest rates for hiring were really low, and for making games was really low. So all gaming companies thought that the pandemic growth would never end. The gaming industry would keep rising, but so during that time, gaming companies decided, let's make some acquisitions. We had the Microsoft buying Activision for $69 billion, and obviously Sony buying Bungie for $3.6 billion. At this time, Bungie's employees were about 800 to 900, and on top of that, Bungie decided to go on this giant hiring spree. And most of the people that they did hire went to incubation projects, so not Destiny, not anything that they have out right now. It's either working on Marathon, their new upcoming extraction looter shooter, or these other projects that they had, which was Project Gummy Bears and Project Payback, which both have recently gotten scrapped.
I wonder why.
At the same time, Lightfall was a severe miss in the community, damaging player sentiment and causing significant revenue losses, Jason Schreier said. This essentially led up to the first set of layoffs we had right after Lightfall, and essentially leading into what would happen now. There was a lot of talk about Bungie overstating its earning potential to Sony during the acquisition deals. Jason Schreier said to that he can't back it up, but there was a reporter who did cover it. Stefan, I can't remember his name, but essentially he went into it saying how it was kind of an over-exaggeration, not even on Bungie's part, but kind of from both parts, where Bungie hyped up their games and Sony saw the positive feedback that Destiny was able to produce, and they both kind of put all their eggs in one basket with it. The next question that people asked is, how are people talking about Pete Parsons' role and the decisions he made? How do they feel about him at this point? There was during a little bit after the layoffs happened, there was found out that a couple months before the layoffs, Pete Parsons, the CEO of Bungie, was posting tweets about his expensive car collection. People found out that in the past year he had bought or bid on like 22 cars, pricing over like $6 billion. But from Jason Schreier's insider sources, he says that Pete is generally well liked and he seems to stand up for what is right. They mention about how he was at the LGBTQ and Black Lives Matter protests that Bungie did, how he was out there. But I do have to say, standing up for those things is cool. Standing up for those things is standing up for what's right. But there's a difference between looking good in the eyes of people and different communities and looking in actually doing good in the eyes of your company.
Yeah.
You can stand up for what's right and still run your company into the ground. But Jason Schreier's sources do say that he led them to this position as CEO. Another bad thing, or a couple bad things that have been brought by this, is that Pete Parsons still hasn't taken any accountability for the layoffs. And though all these people are being laid off, he still has a job and hasn't taken any sort of pay cuts to minimize the losses to the company. It has also come out that there was a meeting or something that was brought up, that was rumored to be brought up, saying that if the final shape does well, that there won't be layoffs. But it has now come out with this saying that the layoffs were in the works a month before the final shape had even released. So whether or not the final shape did well didn't matter. Which actually leads into the next question: is that were the Bungie layoffs planned before the final shape? Which, yes, they were a month before. The reasons why were due to the annual expansions of Destiny becoming they've been declining in sales year after year. People aren't really liking it. And this has kind of led into why, going into the next what's going on with Destiny, we're doing episodes. There won't be an annual expansion now. They're going into what's called Frontiers, which is going to be we don't really have a lot to go on. It seems like it's going to be more like mini stories based in, and they just said that it was never going to be enough for the projection that they were going to do. The next question was, how did the expansions get to this point? How do we leave from this annual expansion? And Jason said the biggest thing that he can think of is that Destiny is just too old. Every online game hits its peak and then starts to fall. He mentioned World of Warcraft, which hit its peak of 12 million active subscribers in 2010 and hasn't hit anywhere close to that since then. It's actually been on the decline since then and hasn't really stopped. And I think they're right. There's always, you can see with any game, whether mainly with the online ones, but even like solo, like trying to think of a good example. For like Dark Souls, I guess you could say, if we're going for a solo one, you'll have those followers of the game that'll keep playing it over and over again. But most of the time, when people play through it, they'll play it once or twice, try out stuff, find all the items, and be done with it.
Yeah. This is how the nature of things with some video games, unfortunately. It's just how it is.
Yeah, you got a very good there.
And Destiny being a decade-long game, Destiny 2 itself being 8 years old, or like 6 years old. But he said a few big things that really hurt the game is that even though with all the expansions, it's still fundamentally the same game. It's run through, fight bad guys, kill big boss at the end, get loot. And the main thing that's been hurting the game is that there's no onboarding system for new players. And that really hurts adding to the player base. And the fact that you can't even play the full story of Destiny. You can't even play the base campaign for Destiny 2 as of right now. You had to be there during release to be able to play it.
Yeah. I feel like something like that kind of stuff is what I feel like after the last couple of years it's been really missing. I'm able to relive those moments, able to relive certain things.
Yeah, they did say that they do plan under the new lead, which I will talk about him a little later, that they will be revamping the onboarding system because they do have the timeline reflections, which is I thought was kind of cool. You can go through the different like starting missions and get loot from that, but they definitely do need a way to where you could just play through the story and actually get the story.
Wait, but one thing I'd like to say, like sometimes I like to just revisit old content half the time when there's either downtime during the season, during a DLC or whatever. It's just nice to go through certain old things to relive certain moments, like how did we get here, or how certain things resolve with certain information we learn down the line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one thing that Destiny, prided itself over back then was having variety in terms of like content where you can just be defining strikes. I don't think I need to speak up about strikes and battlegrounds debacle here and there, but I do miss a lot of the unique strikes that you could have done.
I will say though, I do like what they did with strikes and battlegrounds, adding the battlegrounds from the seasonal content into permanent content, especially since the battlegrounds have come to be some of the hardest like grandmaster strikes we've ever had. I don't know. I like that aspect of them taking something that was limited content and making it permanent content for us to enjoy.
But then removing certain things that, could have been permanent content just for the sake of it, just so new and old players can just relive, like, old strikes that were key to certain stories or old strikes key to certain missions that you couldn't have done then.
I would like to have, like, a seasonal node on the director screen for Destiny, where you can go back and play the different seasonal activities for that year.
Yeah.
Or episode activities, because they're doing episodes now. But wanted to hop back on track real quick as I go through my notes and get lost.
Go through your notes faster.
Continuing with that, they also said that the final shape was cool, but it felt like it was only for players that were invested in the game. And honestly, yeah, I agree. And you know what? It should have been. It was the end of the 10-year saga that the people who have been playing this game religiously have been leading up to. It felt like a thank you to the veteran players, to where Lightfall felt like a slap in the face. I'm perfectly fine with how Final Shape turned out. But I want to finish running through these real quick and give you guys some more time. But how does the staff feel about no more annual expansions is the next question they brought up. And it says that he said that a lot of them actually aren't upset. The cadence has been really tough keeping on a yearly track, and most like companies like Sony or something, or like publishing companies don't want to have, or they want you to have a normal yearly cadence, because anything out of that year that's being made is considered like flex revenue, where like you can't really put it into the fiscal year normally. But he does point out that the best expansions to come from Destiny have all been the ones that haven't met their deadline. Witch Queen, Final Shape, just to name the two main ones. The two like most banging expansions in the entire game.
It's almost like if, they take their time on it, it turns out better.
It's not even about taking time, more as I feel like they're just being rushed because Bungie's been a live service for so long. Everybody's just like foaming at the mouth for new content all the time.
But the problem is that the same people, like, it's a dual sword here, because that the same people who played the game will rush the out of it and find the easiest cheese for certain things and stuff, and then complain afterwards about there's no content. Yeah, because you didn't give yourself the time to enjoy it or actually just let it be.
Well, there's that
instead of just trying to speed run it.
I'm more of talking about like from an annual yearly expansion aspect.
Yeah.
Where it's like every time that, an expansion has come out on the year, the majority of the Destiny community's sentiment is it feels like there's something missing. And anytime that they've had to delay, whether it's because we've had to wait or something, it just feels like when we give Bungie time to cook, they cook. Like, what was it? They give themselves 4 extra months for Final Shape, and in that 4 extra months, they came out with a whole entirely new subclass, mixing all the 5 different subclasses together. Prismatic wasn't even a thing. Or no, not Prismatic. Sorry, they came out with a new exotic item that mixes 2 exotics together with the exotic class item. They came out with an entirely new enemy race. They came out with a whole encounter for the raid that literally had people stuck on it for over 10 hours. The Verity portion of the raid, for those that know Destiny, the Verity portion of the raid was added in those extra months during the delay, which is notorious for being the hardest part in the hardest raid ever in Destiny history. But hopping back on topic, after talking about the best expansions being delayed, the people brought up how the devs have respect for the new head for Destiny, not CEO, but like the creative director, Tyson Green, who originally worked for Riot for a long time and worked on League of Legends for a long time. He was the creative lead for that, not like
Even
story
still,
stuff like
even
that.
still, yikers, man.
Or wait,
Dude came from a hellscape.
it was either Valorant or League. I can't remember which one, but
Either way, he went from what it sounds like one hellscape straight into the next.
But from what I've heard, he's really good, and he's kind of running the show now. So, but Bungie devs are optimistic during Green. Green said that there's going to be some sort of paid content in the future, kind of like yearly expansions, but they're not sure what they want to do quite yet. And that the ritual activities, so Gambit, Vanguard, and Crucible, which is the PvP mode, are going to be refactored. Something they're going to either switch it up some way or completely revamp the system. They said, like I said before, Green said that they are going to add some sort of onboarding experience, but they don't have details on it yet. But even with all this said, and I know I'm kind of saying this very positively because I do want the best for this company. I've been following it since Halo, so I do want to see it succeed. And this has been one of the lowest years for Destiny, if not the lowest. But getting into it, when we're getting real here, Bungie's lost a lot of people. The remaining workers there need to cover the jobs that have been left behind, and it sucks for everybody involved. But going from Destiny, they did want to talk about Marathon, which is the only other game that is actually still being made by Bungie. Like I said, they had 4 projects going on. They had Destiny running, Marathon, Extraction Looter Shooter was supposed to be coming out this year, got delayed until next year around the same time, and then 2 projects that were canned. One of them, which is supposed to be Project Payback, which is supposed to be in the gameplay wise of Genshin and other games like that, where you can switch between a bunch of heroes of the Destiny universe, but it wasn't meant to be like a gacha style game, they said, in gameplay, which would honestly be weird to see, but
Very.
that also got scrapped. So Jason Schreier got asked from his sources, what is the temperature check on Marathon? And he straight up said, not great. He said there's a reason why it was delayed, and the devs are pessimistic that it will even be on time for its new release date. What was it, last year? A bunch of extraction shooter people, like Tarkov players and stuff like that, got flown out to Bungie to play it. None of them liked it. None of them said that it was good, and they said that it needed more time.
Yeah, but with other playtesting I remember that came out so far, Marathon is just not in good water.
Yeah, and this is the last thing, but it's the most damning thing for this game. What Jason Schreier said from his sources, the Marathon story kind of reminds me of Suicide Squad, and the reason for that is because Suicide Squad started development in 2017 when live service was the hot new thing. Because of sunk cost fallacy, endless delays, and because there wasn't really any interest or willingness to cancel it because they had already committed to so much money to it, they released it anyway. There's just to believe that, all right, we want to get this out, it's going to be cool, and it comes out and just totally flops. I'm worried about Marathon being in a similar situation. It entered development when extraction shooters were super hot, and I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. which honestly, I can already kind of see that. The extraction shooter craze has kind of already died down. I'm not seeing any new ones come out. I'm not seeing any big updates for the ones that are like coming out, except for Tarkov.
But even then, Tarkov got in a bit of some hot water a little bit months back. People are actively keeping an eye on that game. I'm only lightly been keeping an eye on that game, but there's been already a few issues with that. And I don't know. Like with looter shooters, I feel like the formula people are trying to use are just not working when certain things they're trying to do with it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just feel like shit needs to... Something's got to give. Over at Bungie, something's got to give.
And unfortunately, a lot of the public sentiment has been very negative in terms of that.
Yes, but I don't think that it's Pete, to be honest. I think that... So you got Pete, right? And yeah, he did lead them in a situation. He's not taking accountability. He is still in the wrong. But you got Pete, and then you got the other CFOs, CCOs, whatever the OOO, underneath him. I feel like that middle ground between those people and the devs is kind of where the main majority of the issue is. Like, we need Pete at the top to say, yeah, me and the people under me, me and the other heads have up. We're gonna try to right the ship. But I do also understand that with the pandemic times and how much the game industry was booming, that they did think that it was going to keep going. They did over a lot of companies, as we've seen in the past year. As I've covered multiple times in the past year, everybody overhired. Everybody overhired during that time. And they've been feeling the repercussions of it ever since.
Either overhiring or in terms of just to save costs, and that's just their quickest way. Like, that's just textbook. This is an old textbook, but that's just textbook, just trying to save costs, even when you're making record profits.
Mm-hmm. But that's enough drama from me. Let's get into some new news. Trent, tell us about the Sims killer.
Well, it's not necessarily fully new. I have talked about this before. I think it was it's been a couple months now at the very least. But yeah, you could say that. A Sims killer, which, quick touch up on that. It's tragic to say that, there was one in production for a time from Paradox that has sadly been killed. Life by You, just a quick touch up on it. It was going to be a life simulation game released by Paradox, and tragically they had shut that down, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm just mentioning that got killed before it could even deliver the
honorable mention.
Honorable mention that didn't make it to the finish line to kick it to EA. But no, this one is the one called inZOI, which I have talked about before, because of the who is the developer again? The studio that it's coming from. A lot of people are kind of surprised, because going from one company, I don't remember if this game is considered, I think it's more of like a battle royale, technically, looty shooty, rootin' tootin'. I don't fucking know. I don't like shooting games. Anyway, that's besides the point. It's a life simulation game, as I've stated before, coming from the PUBG studios, Crafton. What was it called again? Crafton, yes. So yes, I have covered this before, and I'm covering it again because we've gotten a bit more news about it, because they have released more information. They've released more development process that has happened. And one thing, actually, the main thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that I believe, I could have sworn I seen it somewhere. Hold on a minute, I might have gotten the wrong link. I might have sent this link instead. Okay, yeah. For some reason that link wasn't talking about it, so I'm gonna have to send this to Robbie on the off topic. But on Steam, they will be releasing a limited time public demo for the character creator, inZOI creator, create a sim, essentially, if you're familiar with The Sims. It's basically that. They did it with The Sims 4 back, 10 years ago, because that game came out in 2014.
Age yourself, Trid.
I was a junior. I was a junior in high school. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna quick. September 2nd of 2014. It is going to be 10 years next month. My God. Holy shit. I was still in high school when this game came out. My God. Anyway.
I Remember when Five Nights at Freddy first came out?
I remember playing The Sims 1 back in the early 2000s.
I remember playing Halo on the original Xbox.
Back in my day. Anyway, back in my day, we didn't have this kind of fancy schmancy shit that you youngins are getting nowadays. But besides the point, they did do this with The Sims 4 back 10 years ago when the game before it was released. They released like a demo of the character creator, and Crafton is doing that with inZOI, which, like I said, starting tomorrow, which today it is August 19th, so I feel like by the time this comes out, it's not going to be... You know what? I just realized by the time this comes out, this is going to be already over. Oh, well! So if you hadn't managed to get a hold... to see this, from August 20th to the 25th, it's only for 5 days, they will be having a free demo of the character creator, which I'm actually kind of interested in, and I am really excited. I'm probably going to dabble with it because I have a very crippling addiction when it comes to life simulation games. We're not going to talk about the amount of hours I have combined in the entirety of the Sims franchise. It's probably...
What's it at? What's Sims 4 at?
Give me a minute.
Just expose yourself to the rest of our viewers on the podcast.
12,668 hours.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, everybody, that's not the highest I've seen or heard.
No, because I don't play this for a career. I'm sure the sim YouTubers and people who stream this and play it for a career have a lot more hours clocked than I do.
Not even. I'm pretty sure some casual out there has more hours.
Oh, more than likely. I haven't been playing The Sims 4 as much because it's kind of going dog shit, but that's besides the point. Everybody knows that. But anyway, back to
what's your Sims 3 hour?
Probably much higher, and that's even before Origin was a thing, so... But anyway, so yes, there will be a demo starting August 20th that you can download from Steam, which it is already available on Steam to wishlist, which is nice. I've already plonked it in my wishlist just below a couple games that are above it, like Paralives that I've talked about, and I will talk about when it comes out. The only thing is they don't have the release date, which is understandable. This game is still really early in production. I don't even, I have seen videos of people who usually are Sims channels getting very brief windows to play this game, so it definitely does seem like it is at the very least in a very, very early alpha playable stage for people to test, but it's not it's kind of like a closed alpha, I'd say, at this point, not so much an open. And I feel like even the closed, it's for people who can kind of play the game and either stream it or make content about it for other people to see it, which is understandable. A lot of game studios do that, especially, well, I don't know if Crafton would be considered an indie one, but smaller studios tend to do this more often than not. I mean, an example is, as you stated, with the Bungie, how they flew out a bunch of looty shooty players to play their, DLC or whatever?
Marathon, their new extraction shooter, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of in a similar vein with that sense. And so apparently it's been gaining a lot of pretty good, I'd say, news about it and everything. But one thing that I also did want to mention is they did release the PC specs, which that is the one thing I don't think they have stated if this will be on console or not, just from what I can see of how the game looks. I don't think
probably not.
If it will, it's probably going to be at the very least a year later, maybe more. But I'm just gonna go right off the bat with an assumption of it's probably not going to be a console game, and if it is, it's gonna be a long time. But they did release the PC requirements for inZOI, which is nice, so that way, if you are interested in this game, you can at the very least check to see if your computer can run it, or maybe it's time to start saving up to upgrade your computer, which a part of me feels like I might fall into that, but we will see. I will test that out later. But the one thing is, this will be powered by UE5, so it looks pretty crisp. From the videos and the imagery I've seen, it's pretty crisp. The best way I can describe it, if you are part of the Sims community, is it kind of looks like when you just completely revamp your game with what's called Alpha CC, which I think looks atrocious, and it gives me Uncanny Valley vibes. I hate it. It looks atrocious, but that's for that game because that's not the original style of that game. That's more cartoony. This one off the bat is going for a more realistic approach, which I think is fine, and I think it looks really nice, probably because it's a new engine, so especially
if it's the people from PUBG.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've always been really good with their models and the clothes and stuff.
Oh yeah, and the models and the clothes are pretty crisp and clean. I'll be honest, like it doesn't look weird at all. Versus like with The Sims, when you download like mods and custom content to make it look like that. Oh god, it looks so weird. I hate it. But anyway, so excuse me, I've got some chest gas. Anyway, so
Got a hockey tool.
Ew, no. Anyway, so according to PC specs, PC gamers will need at least an Intel i5 10400 or an AMD Ryzen 3600 with 12 gigabytes of RAM and an NVIDIA RTX 2060 or an AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT. It also requires 600 gigabytes of free disk space. So they did release like as well the size of this game, which I'm surprised for how it looks. That's not as chunky as I was expecting. I was expecting this bad boy to be like, because Baldur's Gate 3, to be fair, big ass game. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do a quick check to see how big Baldur's Gate 3 is. 145 gigabytes.
Oh damn.
Almost 146 gigabytes. Granted, Baldur's Gate 3 is a very big game. I only just recently completed it, and that game's been out for almost over a year now. I cried. I'm getting off topic. Anyway, so it's 60 gigs. It'll be a 60 gig game, which honestly, for a life sim that is big, but in comparison to most other games that are out, that's not that big. It's I'd say a medium size. It's a medium sized little nugget. And but that is at the very least the minimum. The recommended is an Intel i7 12700, AMD Ryzen 5800, Jesus Christ, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 3070 RTX, and the 6800 Radeon. I know I'm butchering these words, and I do not care who's gonna get mad at me. I'm retarded. No, I do not care.
You don't know about the new gravity cooling system?
No.
The Radeon?
My computer is a pre-built, and if I ever need to upgrade it, I will probably buy the parts, throw it at the nearest person who knows how to play with the fancy Legos and have them do it themselves, because I don't know what I'm doing, and I've got the brain power and the brain size of a goddamn cue ball. No. Anyway, so that is pretty much the specs. I wish I could say, if I knew whether or not that is something that is very beefy and very expensive, just from the big numbers, I'm going to naturally assume those are big numbers. You'd think I would look into this more as someone who's intrigued by it, but that's the thing. I completely skate by when it comes to the requirements. I'm like, can my computer run this? No, I'm still going to do it anyway.
My computer sounds like it's gonna explode. Oh well.
Dude, I used to play The Sims 3 on an old laptop. I swear to God, I am surprised I did not get 4th degree burns on my goddamn lap when I was a teenager. I swear to God, because that thing sounded like it was this close to just catching on fire sometimes. And my computer now can't even handle it. To be fair, that is a problem with that game because it is very old and it can't recognize graphics cards. And I've tried to get it to recognize mine, and I don't know what I'm doing. That's just me rambling.
Someone help me.
Someone send help. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been skating by when it comes to this gaming shit. When it comes to the technical stuff, I'm just like, it goes over my head. I just want to see the fancy pixels. But that's pretty much it. I am quite excited to see how this game does. I'm really hoping it does come to full completion because of the fact that I'd say for the past couple years now there were 3 top contending Sims killers, which was this one's the newest one of inZOI. This one I think was it's not released, so was brought up and brought into the gaming news as an upcoming game I think within the past year or so. So this one's the newest one, but it looks like it is the most ambitious just due to the fact of how it looks, what they plan to do, and also I guess who is creating it, because I guess a lot of people weren't expecting a battle royale game, a company that is known for a battle royale-esque CSGO-like game to this.
No, you're right. Battle royale. PUBG's battle royale.
Yeah, I remember playing it back when it was still pretty early, and I hated it. I hated playing it with you guys, but Yeah, no, it is quite jarring because it's like one end of the spectrum of gaming to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. But it still looks like they're doing a pretty good job with it. But there were 3, which it's tragic to hear that one of them did end up getting axed, which was Life by You. That's the one I was really, really looking forward to, just due to the fact that I don't remember what his position was, but he was one of the main spearheads of the game, which was, oh my god, what was his name? Oh my god, who was like the main dude spearheading it? Rod Humble. I was really excited for this because it was the development was being led by the former executive vice president of EA Play and the head of The Sims, Rod Humble. He was one of the main guys who made Sims 2. Well, he was one of the main brains behind Sims 2, and that is, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people, the best iteration of The Sims, Sims 2. And so, like, I was very excited for this game. I had a lot of faith in it, which I don't tend to do very often, but when it's something that's near and dear to my heart and is lodged in there like a goddamn parasite, I do have high expectations for it, and it was very sad to hear that Paradox did end up canceling the game, because it looked like it did have a lot of potential, but it also looked like they were trying to do too much with it, just from the videos I had seen in which they would showcase Life by You. So now it's down to... continue.
I feel like they may have fallen into the same thing, kind of going back to what I was talking about with my topic.
More unlikely.
Because not only were all the big studios hiring, but you saw a bunch of small studios start popping up left, right, and center, trying to like make their own version of stuff.
Yeah, because it says, and this happened back in June, so about 2.5 months ago, month and a half ago, 2.5? A bit ago, but not too bit ago. Paradox had announced that they canceled it. I'm just going like a quick overview of this. And it basically was due to the fact that they were not able to meet their expectations and everything. And my god, they took a 19.2 million write-down on development costs and a 90% drop in profit for the second quarter. So yeah, it does look like they kind of fell into a similar problem with a lot of other game companies, which a part of me isn't really surprised that this ended up happening, because Paradox not too long beforehand had released City Skylines 2, and that didn't do too well when it released. However, I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt at first, because a lot of times when Paradox releases games, they don't do too well at first. They usually kind of, I don't want to say flop, but they don't have like the most outstanding reviews. They're usually like mid reviews at best. Because Crusader Kings 3 fell into that as well when it came out, and now it's really good. I see nothing but good reviews about it, and it's been out now for a while, so that's why I tried to have some like high hopes for it. I don't want to say high hopes. I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt with that, but tragically they did end up canceling it, and part of me went, maybe it was for the best. Who knows? Maybe it wouldn't have actually lived up to the standards that they wanted it to. And everything. I don't know. I'm not a game developer. I don't work for Paradox. I didn't work on the game. I don't know the true details and ins and outs of it. But so now that just leaves 2, which, like I said, inZOI is the newest one, and then we have Paralyzed, which I have talked about that a long time ago. I haven't mentioned it in a while, but they have been doing a lot of work, and I'm very excited for that one, because this one is, I feel, the crowning gem of what could be the Sims 4 killer. Because one, they're very active in their updates, and I'd say like every once a month, give or take, depending on what they do give like actual updates. I think they give more on their Patreon, but I'm a broke ass bitch to kind of subscribe to a Patreon right now, so you know it's hard out here. But it's that, and also this originally started as a dude in his basement. And it looks beautiful at this point. I think it's a team of 10 people now, but it is such a tiny little like indie studio. I don't even think they're really a studio. They're just like 10 people that are just like banding together and like, okay, let's make a game. And it looks beautiful. Holy shit. Every time I see videos about it, like when they drop new content, I'm like, oh my god, this does not look like it is actually a legitimate game. And then you look at it and like, oh my god, it is. Oh yeah. It looks so great. The art style is... It's an interesting art style. I like it. A lot of people don't. It's a very contrasting difference to Life by You, not Life by You, inZOI, because that's definitely a more realistic look. The Paralyzed one is a more cartoony. That's why I can describe the art style.
More towards The Sims kind of feel.
Kind of, but it's even more. painted in a sense. Like the best way I can describe how it looks is it looks very, very similar to like the animation style that they use, like that Riot had used for Arcane and a lot of their cinematics.
Oh, okay.
It's not
So
to
like the cell shaded kind of.
Kind of, yeah. It's not to the full extent. It's a little bit more like rougher than theirs, but it's a very similar style. Where it's like a mixture of cell and blended shading and everything. So I think it looks really interesting, and I'm excited for it. But that's because I have a crippling problem. But back to inZOI, you know, there is no official release date just yet, but you know, we gotta give them time to cook. You know, when a game studio cooks, 9 chances out of 10 they can produce a nice game. When they're rushed, they produce a stinker. But that usually happens when it comes to this industry. Honestly, it happens with everything, you know? Whether it's creating a game, whether it's writing a book, whether it's knitting a sweater, whether it's literally just cooking. When you don't get a chance to cook, it ends up turning into a pile of shit. I wish that these people who rush game studios, whether it be the investors, whether it be the big kahunas, I don't know who the
or the
just let them cook.
fans.
Or the fans. Yeah, honestly, that's something that pisses me off when fans are like, when is this game coming out? You guys need to hurry the up. Like, dude, let them cook.
Chill.
Yeah, like, calm down. Do you want a good game or do you want a shit game? Because you're gonna bitch if you get a shit game, and then you're gonna be like, well, why didn't you make this better? It's like, because you rushed them.
This is what you wanted. No, it isn't. But you said.
Honestly, like, it's so frustrating. But that's pretty much kind of what I have about inZOI. I know it's not a lot, but this is more like kind of little update tidbits about how like there's going to be little character creators.
Your general sim talk.
Yeah, pretty much. Just me kind of rambling about sim talk, and you know, honestly, at this point, this is kind of what I do. I find something that interests me. I'll ramble about it through about like four to 10 different topics, and kind of connecting back to it, but not really.
You got your Sims. I got my inner workings of the gaming world. We all got our niches. Blaze has got his movies.
And then
Subset's got his AO.
Well, there was one story that I really wanted to take some time to discuss, and that is the fact that Five Nights at Freddy's launched a new game titled Into the Pit. Now, this is a 2.5D side-scrolling adventure, survival, and puzzle-solving game, and it pretty much expands and explores the first of the Fazbear Frights novels of the same name, Into the Pit. But I just want to say this game as a whole is a full love letter to the Fazbear Frights series and other books from the Five Nights at Freddy's novelization series as a whole. So, in the game, you play as Oswald, a kid going to Jeff's Pizza at the behest of his dad to get out of the house for the summer. And on this specific night, his father is a little bit late picking him up, and in the process, Oswald figures he could play a little prank on his dad and hid in the ball pit in the back of the pizzeria, which then apparently transports him back in time, which is a feature that happened in the book, and Jeff's Pizza is transformed into Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. He has some fun, makes some friends, and wins hide and seek by hiding in the golden Freddy costume, and you know what that means. He then witnesses the missing children's incident as the yellow rabbit appears, and this version of him really isn't shy or sneaky about the way he's just killing kids and dragging them off. Eventually, Oswald is able to escape to the ball pit, meets his dad, but the yellow rabbit grabs him, grabs his dad, drags him into the pit, and infects him, with nobody really knowing the truth except for Oswald himself. And the whole goal of the game overall is for Oswald to find his real father. The main gameplay of this game is going to school. The main gameplay of the game is going to school and being able to explore day-to-day life, and then going to the ball pit for the night section of the game to travel back to Freddy's. And obviously, the game lasts 5 nights. Now, I won't give any of the endings away for how they affect the game or what they provide in a gameplay sense, but I will be going over the references these endings will have to other books in the FNAF catalog, so if you don't want to know, make sure to skip ahead, because I will be going over a lot of spoilers in this game and how it relates to other books in the FNAF series. Now, basically, when you get into the secrets of this game, they are surrounding these arcade minigames. Now, they cover a branch of different stories, from GGY from Tales in the Pizzaplex, to stories like Kids at Play from Fazbear Frights number 11 Prankster, To Be Beautiful from Fazbear Frights number 1 Into the Pit, Count the Ways of Fazbear Frights number 1 Into the Pit, the first story of Fazbear Frights number 2 Fetch of the same name, and you've also got the third story of What We Found of Fazbear Frights number 8 Gumdrop, and there's plenty more mini-games that are referencing other mini-games from FNAF 2, FNAF 3, and even a poster that references the Twisted Ones, which is the second book in the trilogy of the Five Nights at Freddy's books. One of the more cooler Easter eggs is that we get to actually see the Stitch Wraith in the game, which I thought was really cool because he was the character that followed all the epilogues of the Fazbear Frights stories. And the final Easter egg I will be taking note of is that there is a text tone audio file that you can find in the game by dialing Spring T, and if you put that audio file alongside William Afton's death at the end of the night minigames from FNAF 3, they actually match up pretty well, and it is quite the horrific thing to witness. Now, there's plenty of other Easter eggs in this game, and who knows if they'll even drop DLC or updates for this game, but the one other thing I want to mention is that the secret of the Mimic trailer. Now, apparently this will take place in 1979, which could see the creation of the Mimic, which we haven't seen since it was laid to rest at the ending of Security Breach Ruin. But also, since we're talking about FNAF games, I might as well mention 5 Laps at Freddy's, which is a FNAF kart racer, which is really cool, and apparently the demo is out and the full release is set for 2025, and the one cool thing I know about that game is that you can actually see Junior's bar along one of the tracks. And as a quick addendum to last episode, I refrained from mentioning the new Lion King Mufasa movie trailer because of how poorly the first one went over. I didn't watch the trailer and I avoided it, and then I saw YMS post a video reacting to it, and after the first few minutes I definitely had to tune in to watch the full trailer, and I'll put my hands up. Disney, you actually listened to the criticism about the first movie. You gave the directing role to Barry Jenkins, so no more John. And speaking of YMS, he probably won't have to make a video about this movie because it looks decent. And not just because of the quality or the effects or the fur glow, but they actually have expressive emotions, which is refreshing after the stone cold face horror that was Lion King 2019. Because you can actually see how the character feels. John. But that's all I wanted to mention about Mufasa Lion King. And it looks to be a genuine improvement over what Adam calls the worst movie ever, the worst thing, and in my opinion, the most disrespectful movie to the original source material. So here's hoping the sequel actually makes a decent plot, with a questionable all-new musical score? I don't know. I'm just looking forward to seeing something that doesn't make me question why I paid money to go see it. But that's kind of everything I wanted to talk about this week, and it's time for me to send it back to my friends to end this week's episode.
Closing us out.
It would be subset.
Well, unfortunately. What do I say again? It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really need to get a note card or something so I can just have it right next to me.
That's it. And then you thank everybody for watching. Tell them to like and subscribe. Tell them to watch the other shows on CGSW. Take us out.
Do you want me to do it?
No, I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
Boys gotta learn.
Well, sorry, I'm writing this down because I just need something written down so I can just read it off. That about wraps up for everything today for all topics. I'm sure. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and tune in on. Why is this happening now? Pretty much wraps up everything for today. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And I hope you guys tune in on the other entertainment on CGSW. And how do you guys do this?
Just say it.
Just say it. It's hard to just say it.
I know it is.
I live by the 3-2-1 process.
3-2-1 process. Okay, theater kid.
I go
Just
by
take a deep breath. 3, 2, 1, and go.
The schizo rambling.
That pretty much wraps up for everything today. I repeat. And that seems to wrap up all the topics for today. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Like, subscribe, and please tune in on the other entertainment on CJSW.
CJSW.
And thanks for my lovely friends to joining me on today. Trin.
Hello. Or goodbye. Pleasure as always. What the do I say?
All right, we're keeping that in.
A pleasure as always.
Menace.
Oh yeah, always fun.
And me, Subset, the best one. Heyo! Obviously, I'm the best one. Totally didn't mess up like 4 other times. But that wraps everything up today. I hope you guys tune in the next time.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Heyo! See, shut up.
I
Paradox
highly doubt
listening.
you are his dad. This man be white as hell.
If Philip J. Fry can be his own grandpa, I can do the same thing.
You know, that's fair.
I guess it's fair, but like he's still white as shit, so like something happened in the timeline.
Nah, it's just recessive. It's just recessive genes.
Yeah.
Recessive genes.
Yeah, his mom's side was more dominant when he was born.
Oh, that would be your mom's side. Fuck.
You know what? Let's just get this show on the road.
I'm trying to find my notes real quick there.
Touch.
I know I'm trying.
I just hit him with the Danny Mata intro. Going on, boys, girls, and squirrels.
Yeah.
Right. I remember.
Whenever you wish to take it away.
Ah!
Find it funny
Do you
that I'm
want me to
talking
start it or?
about- I can do it.
Okay.
Here, warm them tongues. Sound, make yourself sound like you haven't been asleep in the past couple hours. Drink some water and gargle some mouthwash. You know what I mean? The whole shebang.
I'm trying to start.